You're listening to TriYogaFit podcast, your space for real talk, grounded guidance, and gentle inspiration on fitness, yoga, and lifestyle strategies for women over 40 who are ready to reclaim their strength, joy, and confidence. I'm your host, Natalie, yoga teacher, triathlon coach, and a fellow woman doing my own fitness restart after 40, right alongside you. Each week, I'll share personal reflection, expert conversations, and empowering strategies to help you move, grow, mind, body, and soul. Let's dive in. Today's episode is part one of my two-part story, Restarting at 48 from Burnout to Balance. I'm going to share my personal story and what it feels like to look in the mirror one day and realize you don't recognize the person staring back. That moment, that sense of disconnection, is more common than we would like to admit, especially for women in midlife. It can sneak up on you. This is where my restart began. Now, the reality is that even as a coach, I am faced with my own battles. The whys and the how comes don't disappear just because you know the information. I am human, just like you. I had to pause, reflect, and finally say to myself, Natalie, it's time to get back on track. Use what you know and put it into action. Because as a coach, I do not know it all. Like you, we always need someone to guide and help us. This is not a success story, not as yet. It's a work in progress. And I want you to be my accountability partner as I'll be yours. We're in this together, learning and growing as we move through this next stage of life. So let's begin, not at the very start, but right at the turning point when I turned 40. As I approached my 2-year anniversary of self-employment, I reflected on how my journey began. In 2011, I started my own business, but initially I worked on several long-term contracts that closely resembled a full-time employment, and eventually they came to an end, my longest being 10 years. And when that happened, I was suddenly faced with uncertainty, wondering, how am I going to survive? Before the end of these contracts, I always had in the back of my mind about taking on new clients and fully committing to running my business full time. I often procrastinated about branching out on my own. Eventually, instead of choosing to take the leap, it felt as though circumstances forced me into it, almost as if I was pushed by fate. From that point forward, I had to focus on marketing my services and finding new clients. At that time, there weren't so many resources and options available as they are today. Fortunately, my background in accounting and business proved helpful as I worked to get things in order. However, as an introvert, it took me some time in becoming comfortable speaking and presenting both myself and my business. I am by nature a learner. My approach involves a great deal of trial and error. At times, I worry that I might be doing things wrong, especially since I did not have a mentor to guide me. Nonetheless, I relied on my instincts, sometimes succeeding, sometimes not. But I never, but it never stopped me from pushing forward. Now, having been in business for 14 years, I continue to surprise myself with each passing year. The journey has been filled with a lot of ups and downs, but my determination and willingness to learn has carried me through. You know, working for yourself is a whole different world compared to the typical 9 to 5. My schedule didn't match my friends, and the way I structure my days changed completely once I was self employed. Now, when it came to health and fitness, I started going to the gym like many others. But truth be told, my focus was mostly on working out, not so much on what I was eating. I did, however, make a big change when my mother passed away. I gave up KFC and Coca-Cola. It was not that I ate it every day, but now it's been over 12 years since I've touched either. But as for the doctor, I almost never went. If I wasn't sick or feeling unwell, honestly, I didn't see the point in getting a checkup. Looking back at photos from that time, it's clear I was pretty average. But in my mind, I always thought I was bigger than I really was. Nobody else probably noticed or cared, but I constantly bought clothes a size up to feel comfortable. When I started to gain some weight, those big clothes just started to fit how it should. And the scale, that thing was my enemy. At that time, I would say I was working out and not eating much. My weight would go up and down. I definitely was a yo-yo on that scale. I'm what you call an endomorph, so I tend to gain weight all over. I remember fitting into a size 8 jeans and feeling great, but then the sizes started going up. My self-consciousness did too. Wearing baggy clothes became a way to hide how I felt about myself. And finding someone who understood my experience wasn't easy. For example, I've always had a larger chest. Finding a good bra, especially now with the activities I do, has always been a challenge. So I kept pushing through, pretending everything was fine, just doing what I've always done. But instead of celebrating my progress, I mostly focused on the negative. I put a lot of pressure on myself to fit into what I thought was acceptable to others. That's the reality of my journey, one where I've learned that self acceptance is important as preservation and that being kind to ourselves should never take a back seat. Now, on that note, we'll wrap up this episode and we'll continue part 2 next week. Now it's time for your Try Yoga Fit mini mission. This week, I invite you to take 5 minutes today and reflect on your own wake up call. Was there a moment when you realized something needed to change? Your health, your work, your identity? Write it down or voice note it. This week it's all about awareness. If you do it, I'd love to hear about it. You can share it on social media and tag me at TriYogaFit with Natalie. I'll be doing it too because we're in it together. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to follow and subscribe to the podcast. And you can find me on social media at TriYogaFit or at TriYogaFit with Natalie for more movement and motivation throughout the week. Thanks for hanging with me. You've got this, and I'm right here with you. Remember, your pace, your path, real results. I'll see you in the next check in.